Hello once again, Niner Faithful, and welcome to another episode of 49ers Playbook on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game. This past Sunday, the 49ers were able to deny the Vikings Valhalla, relying on a ground game that looked like Thor's hammer, pounding away at Minnesota's defense. It was a playoff-type game as both teams knew this game would have huge implications for the postseason going forward. After watching the film, though, the game didn't seem nearly as close as it did watching the game live. Two of Minnesota's offensive touchdowns came off a Jimmy Garoppolo interception and two trick plays for explosive gains to set them up at first and goal. Overall, the defense played an outstanding game to limit one of the more explosive offenses in the league who have some of the best skill position players. There were a ton of plays run in this game, so this will be a slightly longer video, just because there were so many plays and key moments in the game. With that, let's get to it and jump to the film to see how the 49ers were able to extend their winning streak to 3 games and to 4-1 over their last 5. You're watching Johnny Doe's Football Academy. The first play that really impacted the game was Jimmy G's interception. Kyle talked about the play, how he knew it was a bad call when Minnesota lined up. We're going to have a pin plus levels concept called, which, if you've watched the channel, is good against zone coverage. Here, the Vikings show man coverage pre-snap, with Harrison Smith sniffing around short, and they're going to be in cover 1 robber. Jimmy is going to see this the whole way, he just has too much of a gunslinger attitude on the play. He said so in the post-game presser. At the snap, you'll see Smith drop down and Patrick Peterson has jammed Ayuk. Jimmy tries to look Smith off and then hit Debo on his dig. Smith stayed disciplined though, and Peterson was able to funnel Ayuk inside to his help. This is where Jimmy should have just canned the play. There's not enough room. Kittle will break open on an in route. Check it down, punt the ball. Instead, he tries to force it in, thinking that if he just looked Smith off, he'd get Debo open, and he was wrong. So following the pick, the Vikings are going to call a play designed by Loki himself. They run a flea flicker here and will use Cook and Jefferson as their decoys. They'll put Jefferson on a post route, and the flea flicker draws up the linebacker, which then gets Josh Norman to feel he has to do someone else's job and take the post route, which vacates his deep third, and Thielen will be wide open along the sideline. We then get a busted coverage on the touchdown. Minnesota puts a receiver in motion, and you'll see K'Waun Williams track. That reveals man coverage. We often will play a pattern matching man coverage, and the late motion confuses our guys. A pattern matching man coverage is one where defenders will be in man coverage not to a specific player but to a release. What I mean by that is K'Waun will have the inside release receiver and the corner will have the outside release. You do this for 2 reasons. 1, that way you can't be easily beat with pick plays, and if a team has a player in late motion with a man defender trailing, they can't just run the guy on a quick out. The problem is, K'Waun is late to read the receiver shifting to the outside and doesn't look to Thielen on the inside release. So we end up having Mosley and Williams covering number 17, and Thielen is free. Ward has help over the middle, and so we should have Thielen bracketed. But instead, Ward has to try and turn and cover, and a nice throw and catch by Cousins and Thielen put the Vikings up 7-0. On our next drive, we're able to convert a 3rd and long, and it's nice play design mixed with really good pass protection by the offensive line that helps us convert. Minnesota is going to try and bring pressure, so they'll come with a 5-man rush and play quarters coverage on the back end with 2 underneath. We're going to run a speedo concept, which is a streak to clear out the zone, and a deep crosser in behind it. You'll see Debo does a nice job in his clearing route by understanding what Minnesota is running. He stems his route slightly inside to make sure he threatens the quarter's safety, and in doing so grabs both quarter's defenders on that side. And with only 2 underneath defenders, Ayuk will break wide open and is able to pick up good yardage after the catch. From the end zone, we're going to keep Juszczyk in the block and have Kittle on a chip and release. This is what allows us to pick up the blitz off the edge. You'll see Juszczyk picked up Smith well, and Tomlinson does a really nice job in one-on-one in space to give Jimmy G a perfectly clean pocket to deliver the ball. So with the big third down conversion, we're able to get back to our run game. This is our bread and butter, the foundation of the offense, the wide zone. Trent Williams has been playing out of his mind this year, and on this play, he's going to manage to take out both the defensive end and Harrison Smith, which opens up a huge cutback lane for Mitchell. Which then leads to Debo's first rushing touchdown of the game. This is really just an off-tackle run, and I think these have arrived mostly due to the return of Jeff Wilson. The key blocks will be Juice on the M-loss, Kittle on Hendricks, and Wilson has a tough challenge. He's got to motion across, then go pick up this safety. It's real tough to do in space. But watch his block as it springs Debo for the touchdown. He's been a little talked about piece that since his return has helped bring to life Debo as a runner. Much like the Jaguars and Rams games, the 49ers were able to completely control the line of scrimmage on defense. If they can continue this kind of play going forward, this defense is going to continue to get better and better each week. It should be noted, this is the second string defensive line rotation at this point in the game, and Minnesota is going to try and hit us with an off-tackle run. Watch how Givens takes on the double team and our linebackers fill. This is just how you want it done. We also keep contain on the outside and stuff the Vikings for no gain on the play. This was a common theme throughout the game. We were physical up front, filled the run lanes well, and held a strong rushing attack to very few positive plays in the game. This was one on 2nd and short and led to another great stop on 3rd and short. Minnesota's second touchdown of the game just catches our guys in a bad spot. After play action, they're running this slide action. Ward takes the leak player, and Mosley and Hufanga get preoccupied with Jefferson and overplay everything, which puts Hufanga in a tough spot for Thielen over the middle. This was just a play where Minnesota got us. But like I said at the top, our defense was mostly good in the game. Here, Nick Bosa is going to get another sack on the year. He's one-on-one with the left tackle, and watch the explosion and violence. He blasts the left tackle back with power and then transitions to speed around the edge. This is special kind of talent. And this leads to a nice stunt call to pressure Cousins and force an incomplete pass. Then on offense, you'll see us start to put it all together and tie things into each other. We're going to motion Debo into the backfield with Kittle up top. Put yourself in the mind of the defense. They now have to be on alert for Debo taking it off that side, and we've all seen how explosive that can be. So if you're on defense, you're alerting each other to this. We motion Wilson out. Now you have a second ball carrier motioning out where we have Ayuk and Warner, 2 good blockers. So on that side, you have to be alert to the possibility of a screen. Now think about the conflict that puts Kendricks in. He's got to be able to pursue Debo on run or Wilson on the screen. And we're not doing either. We're going to have Warner fake like he's blocking a screen and run a slant. You'll see we pull the guard on a Debo run fake, and the screen action forces Smith to widen because otherwise we would have numbers in the screen game. These two guys being widened by the threats of Debo and Wilson open up a nice area for Warner to make a catch. So then we get back to the traditional run game. This time we're going to run a counter zone. Why do we always motion these receivers around like this? Well, it affects the run game. As we motion Debo back across, you'll see Harrison Smith has to widen to respect the possibility of Debo on a screen pass. That's why you throw those screens to him, even if they don't get good yardage, because it affects the run game. With Smith widened, it allows Ayuk to pick him up and create a huge lane on the reverse. So with time winding down, Jimmy G is going to have one of his best throws of the day to set the 49ers up to score. The Vikings are in cover 1 lurk, and we're going to have Ayuk on a post. And Ayuk runs a great route, but this is just a ridiculously placed ball mixed with Jimmy's quick release. He's able to get the ball by Barr as the lurk defender. From the end zone, you'll see right at the snap, Jimmy looks straight at Barr to hold him, and then moves on to Ayuk. And look at the throwing window and placement. It's plays like that that remind you how good Jimmy can be when he's on it. This then sets us up for a play that should warm the hearts of 49ers fans everywhere. Sprint right option, the play that Joe Montana ran on the catch. On this one, the primary breaks open and Jennings scores the touchdown. Coming out of the half, we're able to get a big explosive play to Debo. It's all about forcing the defense into certain looks. By coming out in these types of formations, you make the defense choose. Are they going to run man coverage and put a corner inside to guard Debo? Are they going to put a linebacker on him and then he be forced to cover Debo out of the backfield? Do you run zone, where now the offense can outflank you? And that's what happens here. We put Ayuk, Juice, and Wilson all to the left and are just going to run a sweep play. These aren't new runs. These are runs that have been around for a long time, but it's using different personnel and formations to accomplish it. One of the key blocks is going to be Ayuk on a crack block on the defensive end. This will allow the tackle to pull, along with Wilson out as a lead blocker, and also allow Brunskill to get free to run downfield. You'll see Ayuk does a great job on his crack block, and now we have Compton and Wilson out there to pick up their guys, and Brunskill up on the safety. All set up by the personnel, formation, and Ayuk's block. Which then sets up Debo's second touchdown of the game. The key blocks here are going to be Kittle on Kendricks and Jennings on Smith. Then the very next play on defense, Shair gets a pick off of Cousins. It's just a heads-up play by Shair. He got to his landmark, and I think Cousins thought he was going to continue moving outside, but he turns to read the quarterback and finds the ball coming right to him. Which sets Mitchell up for his touchdown in the game. Back on defense, the Vikings are again going to turn to Loki's bag of tricks to set themselves up for a score. They're going to run a play we tried to run earlier in the game, a double pass where they'll throw a wide receiver screen for a throwback screen, and we get completely faked out. Which sets up Minnesota for a score. But we're able to come back and continue to utilize the run game to set up the pass game. We're going to run a dagger concept here and throw a wrinkle in by pulling a guard like this is a quarterback power play. Notice how pulling the guard is going to make Kendricks bite. We then have Debo being tracked by 3 defenders, and it will open up Ayuk for a big gain. This is all the magic of Kyle Shanahan. We've run it up the middle, wide zone, split zone, counter, sweeps. Here we're going to come with another counter. This time we're going to run it wide. The keys will be Ayuk's block down on the linebacker, and Kittle will come around and get up on the corner. And it sets us up for a field goal. We then give up a touchdown on the ensuing kickoff. When you're playing kickoff coverage, guys are assigned to lanes, and somewhere in here someone messed up. Trenton Cannon is going to come down and switch outside. Someone is supposed to replace him, either Hufanga or this guy, I can't really tell who it is, but as they come down and Cannon moves outside, Hufanga is then kicked out, and it opens up a huge lane for the Vikings to return the kickoff for a touchdown. We then are able to get a big turnover after a punt, and this is just a great individual effort by Kevin Givens. He beats his guy and forces the fumble. Last, we'll talk about the 4-down goal line stand, as that was the biggest point in the game. Fred Warner was out, Dre Greenlaw was out, game on the line, 1st and goal, the Vikings are going to try and run a halfback dive. DJ Jones and Eric Armstead are awesome on this play. Jones stands up the center, and Armstead hunkers down against the double team. With Armstead not being moved, the halfback is going to look to cut it back, and Jones holds his guy, keeps his eyes in the backfield, sheds, and makes the play. Next, the Vikings are going to try the same thing. They just spread us out a little bit. DJ Jones and Armstead again both take on the double teams and allow the linebackers to fill, which clogs everything up. And Mosley does a nice job filling in late in the play as well. Next, the Vikings are going to try and run a variation off a bench concept to hit Jefferson on a double move. They're going to make it look like a bench, but then have Jefferson break off his out route and cut back in. Ward and Norman are ready for it though, and bracket Jefferson, which forces Cousins to move on, and Hufanga did a really nice job in coverage on the tight end, forcing the incomplete pass. Then lastly, they're going to try and hit Jefferson again. I'm a little surprised they'd run play action here, because this is 4th down and there's really no threat of a run. This is just a bad call by the Vikings. They're trying to fake a run to the left, fake a rollout to the right, and hit Jefferson leaking out. The problem, with no real threat of the run, they're going to have the tight end on Ebukam, faking a down block, and our defensive line doesn't bite. So once Cousins turns around, he's got 2 defensive linemen coming straight at him. Jefferson was open for a short moment, but with the quick pressure, it's an incomplete pass. Maybe the fan wearing a purple jersey in the front row confused Cousins, and he thought he was a receiver. If so, it was a perfect throw. All in all, it was a great team win in a playoff atmosphere game against a Vikings team that was playing well coming into the game. If the 49ers can continue to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball and remain efficient in the passing game, it's a formula for winning football heading into January. As always, if you'd like to support the channel in any way, I'll have links for that below. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Niners.